Everyone in the city knows one rule: stay away from Do-yoon Seo. He is the most powerful Korean mafia boss and CEO in the whole city. He owns buildings, businesses, and people are scared of just hearing his name. Do-yoon is cold, quiet, and sharp like a knife. He doesn't smile. He doesn't trust anyone. Every person who ever got close to him either left him or tried to hurt him. So he built a wall around his heart so tall that even he forgot what was on the other side. The city moves around him the way water moves around a sharp rock, carefully, always giving it space. His name shows up in business newspapers next to words like untouchable and ruthless. His office sits at the very top of the tallest building downtown, with glass walls that look down on everything. From up there, Do-yoon watches the city like it belongs to him. Because most of it does. He wears his suits like armor. His face is always still. His voice is always low, and even the kind of voice that doesn't need to get loud to make people nervous. People who work for him learn quickly: do your job, don't ask personal questions, and never, ever lie to him. The ones who broke that last rule are not around anymore to talk about it. Do-yoon built this life stone by stone, starting from when he was very young, and learned that people leave and people lie, and the only safe thing is power. So he collected power the way other people collect friends. It worked. He is safe. He is protected. He is completely, perfectly, terribly alone. His penthouse apartment is beautiful and silent. His office is clean and cold. He eats his meals alone. He does not celebrate his birthday. He does not keep photos. Every night he stands at his glass window and looks at the city lights below and feels nothing, or tells himself he feels nothing, which is not exactly the same thing. There is a small part of him, buried very deep under all that armor and all those walls, that is still a boy who wanted someone to just stay. But he stopped listening to that part a long time ago. Or at least he thought he did. Amari Jones is not the kind of person the city usually notices. He is 24 years old, a full-time college student who works part-time delivering food so he can pay his rent and keep his phone on and maybe buy groceries that are not just instant noodles. He has warm brown skin, a low natural fade, wide bright eyes that catch everything, full lips that are almost always moving, either talking or smiling or both. He grew up in a neighborhood where money was always a little short and the people were always a little loud and life moved fast. He learned early how to make people laugh when things got heavy, how to read a room, how to talk to anyone. He is the kind of person who remembers your order, remembers your name, and genuinely wants to know how your day went. His older sister Nadia always tells him his heart is too big for his chest. He always tells her that's not a real problem. He is studying business management because he has big dreams and zero connections, which means he is going to have to work twice as hard as everyone else, and he knows it and does it anyway. His delivery job pays him just enough to keep going. He is always tired. He is almost always smiling. The city is big and hard and expensive, and Amari is small in it. Not small in spirit, never that, but small in resources, small in space, working with what he has and making it stretch. He rides his bike through rain and cold and traffic. He takes the stairs when elevators are slow. He memorizes routes so he is never late. He is good at his job and proud of it even when people look right through him at the door like he is invisible. Tonight it is raining. Art. The kind of rain that soaks through a jacket in 30 seconds flat. Amari is already running late because a traffic jam ate 20 minutes of his route. He has one last delivery, a large bag of Korean noodle soup, and the address on the ticket is smudged from the rain. He squints at it under a street lamp. He picks the most likely building. He is wrong. The elevator opens on the wrong floor and Amari walks right into the most terrifying room he has ever seen in his life. Not that he knows that yet. The floor is all dark marble and low golden lighting. There are men in suits standing at every wall. The air is very still and very serious. There is a long glass table in the center of the room, and at the head of it sits a man who makes everyone else in the room look like furniture. Do-yoon Seo. He is in the middle of a meeting. A real one. The kind where no one smiles and everyone takes notes and the temperature somehow feels 3 degrees colder than the rest of the building. Every single head turns when the elevator opens. Every eye lands on Amari, soaking wet, holding a soggy paper bag, blinking under the bright overhead lights like a wet puppy who wandered into a board meeting. 2 large security guards move toward him immediately. They grab his arms. The bag crinkles loudly. It is the only sound in the room. Amari looks around at all the faces. He sees the suits. He sees the guards. He sees the files on the table and the tension in every shoulder in the room. And then his eyes find Do-yoon at the head of the table. Do-yoon is staring at him with dark, completely unreadable eyes. Cold. Still. Waiting. A smarter person might freeze. A more cautious person might apologize quietly and beg to be let go. Amari looks Do-yoon dead in the eyes, this man who the whole city fears, and says, steady and honest and a little desperate, "I don't know who you are, sir, but your soup is getting cold and I really need my tip." The room does not breathe. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3. Do-yoon keeps staring. Then, so small most people almost miss it, the corner of his mouth moves. Just slightly. Just barely. Like a muscle that forgot how to do this and is trying to remember. He raises one hand. The guards let Amari go. "Pay him," Do-yoon says. "And add extra." The meeting resumes. Amari rides the elevator down with shaking hands and a very large tip and absolutely no idea what just happened. Do-yoon does not think about people. That is not how his brain works. His brain is organized like a filing cabinet. Tasks go in, tasks get done, people are tools or threats and get filed accordingly. He does not replay conversations. He does not wonder about strangers. So it is very strange and more than a little irritating that 3 days after the elevator incident, he is still thinking about the delivery boy. Not obsessively. Just, occasionally. Like a song stuck in your head that you didn't choose. He keeps remembering the way Amari looked at him. Not with fear. Not with calculation. Not with the careful, rehearsed respect that everyone in Do-yoon's world performs like a job. Amari looked at him like he was just a person. Just a regular person who had ordered soup and not yet paid for it. Do-yoon has not been looked at that way in longer than he can remember. He finds himself asking his assistant for the delivery company's records. He tells himself it is a security check. The boy was on a restricted floor that needs to be documented. This is not entirely a lie. But it is not entirely the truth either. He finds the name. Amari Jones. Age 24. College student. Part-time delivery worker. Clean record. No connections to any rival organizations. No red flags at all. Just a regular young man trying to pay his rent. Do-yoon closes the file. He opens it again 2 hours later. He closes it again. The next evening, without exactly deciding to, he places a food order through the same delivery company. He requests the same route. Amari arrives at the correct floor this time, the public reception floor of Do-yoon's secondary building. He rings the doorbell. He does not recognize Do-yoon when the door opens because Do-yoon is not in a suit. He is in a simple dark sweater. "Oh hi. You're my customer?" "Cool building," Amari says cheerfully, handing over the bag. Do-yoon pays him in cash. Exact amount. Then, before he quite decides to, he asks, "Was the last delivery job difficult?" Amari blinks. Then grins. "Man, you have no idea." It becomes a routine before either of them names it as one. Do-yoon orders food 3, sometimes 4 times a week. Always through the same company. Always in the evening. Always on Amari's route. Amari begins to look forward to the stop. His other customers are mostly distracted. Door opens, hand takes bag, door closes. This customer actually talks to him. He asks questions. Not personal ones at first, just small things. How long does your shift usually run? Do they make you pay for the bike yourself? What are you studying? Amari talks easily the way he always does, filling silence without thinking about it, and Do-yoon listens the way he almost never does, completely, carefully, like every word is being stored somewhere important. One evening Amari makes a joke about his professor that is genuinely funny and Do-yoon laughs. A real one. Short and quiet and a little rusty sounding, like something that has not been used in a while. Do-yoon looks almost startled by his own face afterward. Amari grins so wide his eyes crinkle. "Oh wow. It works," he says. "I was starting to think your face was just stuck like that." Do-yoon says nothing. But there is something warm happening very quietly behind his eyes. Weeks pass. The conversations get longer. Do-yoon starts thinking about what to ask next before Amari even arrives. Amari starts saving funny stories from his week to tell at this specific stop. Neither of them talks about what this is. Then one evening Do-yoon says, with no introduction or explanation, "There is an open junior assistant position at my company. The salary is 4 times what you make now. You are observant, you communicate clearly, and you don't perform for people. I would like you to apply." Amari stares at him. Is this a real job or a "you are clearly a crime lord" kind of job? Do-yoon almost smiles. Both. But the salary is real. Amari applies. He gets the job. His whole life rearranges quietly. Amari's first week at Do-yoon's company is terrifying in the best way. The offices are enormous and clean and everyone walks fast and talks in low serious voices. People look at Amari with curiosity. Who is this young man? Where did he come from? Why does the boss know his name? Amari smiles at everyone and works twice as hard as he needs to and asks questions when he doesn't understand things and never pretends to know more than he does. His supervisor, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s named Ms. Park, watches him carefully for the first few days. Then she tells him on Friday, "You're going to be fine. You actually listen. That's rarer than you think." Miss Park is Korean, age 52, silver-streaked black hair pulled back neatly, round kind eyes behind thin-framed glasses, small build, always in structured blazers. She has worked for Do-yoon since he was building his first company and she knows him better than almost anyone. She notices the way Do-yoon's schedule changes slightly. More meetings near Amari's department, small detours past his desk. She says nothing. She files it under things to observe. Amari, for his part, does not treat Do-yoon differently at work than he did at the door. He is respectful and professional, but he does not shrink or perform. When Do-yoon passes his desk and asks about a report, Amari answers directly and then says, "Also, I think section 3 has a math error, page 9. Do-yoon stops. Checks his copy. There is indeed a math error on page 9. He looks at Amari for a moment with something that might be respect. "Fix it and resend," he says and keeps walking. Amari fixes it. He is smiling the whole time. Slowly, week by week, Do-yoon finds reasons to be near Amari's work. He tells himself it is professional interest. He is lying to himself, which is something he is not used to doing. A wall very slowly begins to crack, just a little, just enough to let some light through. Do-yoon has been in control of every part of his life for 15 years. He knows exactly what he is doing at every hour of every day. He does not make decisions without thinking them through. He does not feel things without examining them first and deciding whether or not they are useful. So it is deeply uncomfortable to realize, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon while watching Amari explain something to a colleague, using his hands the way he always does, laughing at his own point halfway through it, that the feeling in Do-yoon's chest is not professional interest. It is something much more inconvenient. He does not name it immediately. He pushes it to the filing cabinet in his brain marked, "Examine later." But it keeps getting out. When Amari brings him tea without being asked because he overheard Do-yoon mention he had a headache, Do-yoon holds the warm cup and does not know what to do with his own face. When Amari disagrees with him in a meeting, politely and clearly and without backing down, and Do-yoon realizes he is not annoyed, he is impressed. That is when the filing cabinet starts to feel very full. Do-yoon does research. Not on Amari as a security risk this time, but on Amari as a person. He rereads the small things Amari has told him. He maps the shape of who this person is. Kind, stubborn, funny, honest to a fault. The kind of person who makes you feel like you are worth talking to. Do-yoon realizes he has not felt worth talking to in a very long time. He is terrified. He has let people in before. Every single one of them eventually revealed themselves, as a user, a liar, a leaver. Every single one. His brain tells him, this will end the same way. His chest, which is not in the habit of having opinions, is somehow very loud about disagreeing. He stands at his office window again that night. The city below. The silence around him. And for the first time in years, the silence feels like something missing instead of something chosen. Do-yoon picks a Sunday evening. He asks Amari to stay after hours. He does not explain why. Amari, who has learned that Do-yoon explains things on his own timeline, says okay and waits. Do-yoon takes him to the roof of the building. It is a private garden up there. Real plants, small trees in pots, string lights along the edges, the whole city spread out below like a map made of gold. Amari has not seen anything like it. He stops walking when he gets to the top and just looks. "You have a garden on your roof," he says. "You have a secret garden on your roof." "It is not a secret," Do-yoon says. "You just have to be invited." "Do you invite people up here?" "No." Amari turns to look at him. Do-yoon is standing a few feet away. He is not in his usual armor suit. He is in a dark coat, hands in his pockets, looking somewhere between certain and terrified. He says what he needs to say the way he does most things, without decoration, without softening, just directly, "I am not good at this. I have not done this before in a way that ended well. But I think about you more than is professional and I would like to know if that is something you are willing to explore." Amari is quiet for a moment. His wide eyes are reading Do-yoon's face. He sees the fear there, underneath the stillness. He sees how much it costs to say that. He takes a breath. "Yeah," Amari says softly. "I'm willing." Do-yoon lets out a breath he has maybe been holding for months. They stand side by side at the rooftop edge looking at the city. Slowly, carefully, Do-yoon's hand finds Amari's hand. Amari doesn't make it a big thing. He just holds it back. Steady. Warm. Do-yoon looks down at their hands. Something in his chest, some old cold thing, melts just a little. He does not have a word for what he feels. But it is something like hope. Happy for Do-yoon looks very quiet from the outside. He does not change the way he dresses or the way he runs his meetings. He is still sharp, still focused, still the man the city is careful around. But the people close to him notice small things. He eats lunch sometimes instead of skipping it. He responds to morning messages faster. He once, just once, said good morning, first before his assistant said it to him, and his assistant almost dropped her coffee. Miss Park notices most of all. She sees the way Do-yoon's day always seems to have a small pocket in it that lines up with whenever Amari is nearby. She says nothing. She smiles to herself and files it under good. For Amari, happy is louder. He calls his sister Nadia on the way home, and she can tell from the first syllable that something is different. Nadia is 28, dark brown skin, natural curly hair always tied up, sharp eyes, quick laugh, fiercely protective of her little brother. She gets the whole story in one long excited phone call, and she is quiet for a moment and then says, "He sounds scary." "He is a little bit," Amari admits. "But not to me." Nadia says, "Okay. I trust your gut. But I will need to meet this man." Together, Amari and Do-yoon figure out what being together means for two people who are almost completely different. Amari drags Do-yoon to a street food market one Saturday. Do-yoon stands among the crowd looking like he has never been in a public space for fun before, which is mostly true. He eats something from a paper cup and admits, quietly, that it is very good. Amari looks so delighted that Do-yoon allows himself to be dragged to 3 more stalls. They watch old movies in Do-yoon's apartment. Do-yoon learns that Amari laughs at things that are not jokes and cries at things that are not sad scenes and talks to the characters on screen. It is illogical, and Do-yoon finds it completely wonderful. Chin-ho has been Do-yoon's right hand for 11 years. He is Korean, age 38, medium build, broad face with heavy brows, close-cut black hair, always in dark suits, always standing just behind Do-yoon's right shoulder at meetings. He has a big practice smile that he uses on everyone. He was there when Do-yoon was building from nothing. He knows every secret, every contact, every weakness in the operation. And for the last 2 years he has been selling them. Not all at once, carefully, slowly, in pieces small enough that nothing looked wrong. He has been feeding information to Boss Ryuk, Do-yoon's biggest rival. Boss Ryuk is Korean, age 50, heavy build, shaved head, cold flat eyes, expensive watch always on his wrist, runs his own operation from a building across the city. Ryuk has wanted Do-yoon's territory for years and kept getting blocked. Chin-ho gave him the map. The reason Chin-ho did it is simple and ugly. He wanted to be the one in charge. He was tired of standing behind someone else's shoulder. He thought if Do-yoon fell, he could step into the space left behind. He told himself it was business. He told himself Do-yoon would understand, that everyone betrays everyone eventually, that power is the only real thing. He has been telling himself these things for 2 years, and he has gotten very good at believing them. What he does not account for is Amari. Because Amari notices things. He does not know what he is noticing yet, just that Chin-ho looks at Do-yoon sometimes with something that is not quite loyalty. Just that certain documents seem to leave rooms slightly differently than they arrive. Just small things. He files them away without knowing why. Tobias is not a villain the way Chin-ho is a villain. He is smaller than that, which makes it worse in a different way. Tobias is 25, black male, medium brown skin, stocky build, round face, always in sneakers and hoodies, used to be one of Amari's closest college friends. They studied together, complained about assignments together, shared food when one of them was short on cash. Tobias knew Amari before any of this, before the job, before Do-yoon, before everything changed. When Amari's life changed, Tobias watched it happen from the outside. The nicer apartment. The better clothes. The mentions of rooftop gardens and company meetings. Tobias felt something hot and sour grow in his chest and told himself it was concern for his friend. It was not concern. It was jealousy, the specific kind that comes from watching someone you thought was in the same box as you climb out of the box. He started asking Amari questions. Friendly ones. Where does Do-yoon like to be on weekends? What makes him relax? What are his routines? Amari answered freely because this was Tobias, his friend. He did not count the questions. He did not see the shape they were making. Tobias took those answers to a gossip news website. He sold them. Then he took a slightly different set of answers to a contact connected to Boss Ryuk's circle. He sold those too. He told himself it was just information. He told himself Amari would never find out. He told himself the money mattered more than a friendship that was becoming uneven anyway. He spent the money before the week was over. The attack on Do-yoon's businesses happens across one single week, coordinated and quiet and devastating. 3 of his companies take hits simultaneously, A contracted deal collapses because private negotiation details were leaked to a competitor. A warehouse operation gets raided because someone gave the schedule to the right people. A business partner pulls out of a major agreement after receiving private communications that were never meant to leave Do-yoon's office. Boss Ryuk watches it all happen from across the city with his flat cold eyes and his expensive watch and says nothing publicly. He does not need to say anything. Do-yoon's name appears in news headlines. Words like failing and compromised sit next to his name, and it is like watching something poisonous spread. People who work for Do-yoon are scared. People who work against him are circling. Chin-ho stands in the meetings looking concerned and helpful and says all the right things, and Do-yoon trusts him because he has trusted him for 11 years, and trust, once built that long, is hard to question even when it should be. Do-yoon pulls back into himself. The warmth that had been slowly, carefully building over months, quietly like a fire just learning how to burn, starts to go cold. He stops sleeping well. He stops eating at regular times. He sits with reports and security footage and tries to find the crack. He looks at every face around him. He looks at every meeting, every document, every contact. And then someone, anonymous, careful, places a folder on his desk. It contains printed screenshots of text conversations. Messages between Tobias and someone connected to Boss Ryuk's network. Details about Do-yoon's schedule and preferences. Details that only one person in Do-yoon's world would know. Details that Amari would know. Do-yoon calls Amari into his office. He is standing when Amari arrives, not sitting, standing at the window the way he does when something is very wrong. Amari can feel it the moment he walks in. The air is different. Do-yoon turns around and his face is the face from before everything, blank, sealed, sharp. Like someone put all the walls back up overnight. He slides the folder across the desk. Amari looks at it. He reads the messages. His face changes, confusion first, then alarm. "These are from Tobias," he says. "I can see that," Do-yoon says. His voice is perfectly level. That is somehow the worst part. "But I was not careful about what I said to Tobias. I didn't know he was..." "You told him things," Do-yoon says. "Private things. Things that were used against my operation. I didn't know he was going to. Every person who has ever gotten close to me has cost me something." Do-yoon's voice does not shake. It is very quiet and very final. "I should have remembered that. Do-yoon, I need you to clear your desk." Amari goes very still. The room is silent. He waits, he gives it 10 full seconds. To see if Do-yoon will take it back, will hear the rest of the sentence, will give him a chance. Do-yoon turns back to the window. Amari packs his things alone. He does it slowly, hands unsteady, jaw tight, eyes burning. He does not cry in the building. He makes it outside. He makes it 2 blocks. Then he sits on a bench in the rain and cries the kind of cry that comes from the deepest part of the chest. He had not known how much Do-yoon's trust meant to him until he felt it disappear. He had not known how much he was in love until it was taken away. Amari's apartment feels different when he comes back to it alone. It felt like a starting point before, small but full of forward motion. Now it just feels small. He puts his box of things on the floor and sits on his bed and stares at the wall. He does not eat dinner that night. He does not eat much for several days. His grades start slipping because his brain will not cooperate. It keeps replaying the office, the folder, the window, the turn back. He calls his sister Nadia on day 3 because she calls him first and he cannot make himself not answer. Nadia, 28, dark brown skin, natural curly hair in a loose bun, wearing an oversized sweatshirt, voice careful and steady, listens to the whole thing without interrupting. Then she says, "Come stay with me this weekend." He goes. Nadia feeds him real food and watches old shows with him and does not push him to talk before he is ready. When he is ready, she listens again. And then she says the thing that starts to turn something in him. "You didn't do anything wrong. You need to know that before anything else." Amari knows it. He has known it the whole time. But knowing a thing and feeling a thing are different. Slowly, with Nadia's steady presence and his own stubbornness that has always been his best quality, he starts to surface. He starts eating again. He catches up on one assignment. Then another. He starts to feel less like a person who has been broken and more like a person who got hit very hard and is getting back up. And then he gets angry. Not bitter angry, clear angry. The kind of anger that wants the truth more than it wants comfort. He starts going through everything he knows. Every conversation with Tobias. Every question Tobias asked. He starts writing things down. Amari is not a detective. He is a 24-year-old business student with a laptop, a notebook and a very good memory. But he is organized when it matters and he is not willing to walk away from something this big without at least knowing the shape of it. He starts with Tobias. He goes back through old messages, things Tobias said that he did not pay attention to at the time. Little questions with specific angles. Little comments that showed more knowledge than Amari had shared. He screenshots everything. He compares timelines. He finds 3 specific moments where Tobias asked something precise right before something bad happened to Do-yoon's businesses. It is not definitive, but it is a pattern. Then he goes wider. He looks at the news coverage, the specific details that were leaked, and realizes they match things he said out loud. Things he only said to Tobias. He feels sick and then he feels certain, and those two feelings sit side by side for a long time. He also finds something he was not looking for. A business article that mentions Chin-ho by name in connection with a company that is linked to Boss Ryuk's network. It is one mention. Might be nothing. But Amari's gut, which has always been reliable, does not think it is nothing. He prints everything out. He puts it in a folder. He sits with the folder in his hands for a long time. He thinks about Do-yoon's face when he turned to the window. He thinks about their hands on the rooftop. He thinks about how much it hurt to be not believed. And he decides, not for Do-yoon, not for the relationship, but for the truth, because the truth matters and someone needs to see it, that he is not going to walk away. He's going to walk back. What? Just once. And if the door doesn't open, then he will know he did everything he could. Do-yoon's company stabilizes. The financial damage gets repaired. Do-yoon is very good at repair when it comes to money and operations. He is less good at repair when it comes to himself. The employees notice. His assistant brings him the wrong file twice in 1 week because she is nervous around his new energy, which is somehow colder than his old coldness. The old cold was like winter, sharp, clear, predictable. This cold is different. Darker. Like a room where the light used to be and now isn't. Miss Park watches him move through his week and says nothing for a while. She waits. She has known Do-yoon since he was 22 years old and trying to be frightening without quite knowing how. She knows his rhythms. She knows when silence is control and when silence is pain. One afternoon she goes to his office with 2 cups of tea. She makes it herself from the small kettle she keeps at her desk, and she sets one in front of him and sits down across from him without asking permission, which is something she has always done and he has always allowed. She says, "The company is recovering." "Yes," Do-yoon says. "But you are not," she says. He does not answer. Miss Park wraps both hands around her cup. "You didn't lose him because he betrayed you," she says. "You lost him because you did not give him the chance to be innocent." Do-yoon's jaw moves once. "You don't know, I know you," she says simply. "And I know what fear looks like when it wears a suit and calls itself a decision." She finishes her tea and leaves. Do-yoon sits alone with his own cup going cold. The words rearrange themselves in his head over and over all day. That night, for the first time, he opens his own investigation into what actually happened. Not what he assumed. What actually happened. Do-yoon's security team is the best in the city. They have footage of everything, every floor, every entrance, every private corridor. Do-yoon has never had reason to review footage involving Chin-ho before, because Chin-ho was trust. But trust, once examined, either deepens or dissolves. He starts pulling records. Meeting logs. Access histories. Call times. He does it himself, alone, on a Saturday in his private office with all the blinds down. What he finds builds slowly. Then all at once. Chin-ho's access card was used in 3 restricted archive rooms on dates that matched the 3 business attacks exactly. A private communication server that only senior leadership uses shows outgoing encrypted messages from Chin-ho's terminal to a routing address that Do-yoon's security team traces back, carefully and quietly, to Boss Ryuk's network. There are 11 months of messages. 11 months. Do-yoon sits very still looking at this information for a very long time. Then he calls Chin-ho into his office on Monday morning and lays it all on the table. Chin-ho tries to redirect, then deflect, then minimize. Do-yoon says nothing during any of it. Just watches. When Chin-ho finally goes quiet, Do-yoon says, "Did Amari have anything to do with this?" Chin-ho looks at the floor. Silence is the answer. Do-yoon's face changes then, not loudly, not dramatically, just a shift like the ground settling after something large moved underneath it. He says, "You're done. Everything. Every protection, every privilege, every door. Done." Chin-ho leaves. Do-yoon sits alone in his office. He thinks about a rooftop garden. He thinks about hands. He thinks about a boy who held a soggy bag of soup and looked at him like he was just a person. Do-yoon does his revenge the way he does most things, precisely, completely, and without raising his voice. Chin-ho loses everything connected to Do-yoon's name. Every position evaporates. Every protected contact gets informed. Every door that was only open because of Do-yoon's backing closes quietly and permanently. Shin-ho calls 3 times. Do-yoon does not answer any of them. He does not need to. The silence is the message. Boss Ryuk's operation takes longer but is more complete. Do-yoon is patient. He knows exactly which legal channels to work, which business moves to make, which carefully placed information to let reach the right desks. He does not do it out of rage. He does it with the calm precision of someone closing a chapter that was always going to end this way. Over the next 2 months, Ryuk's deals dry up. Partners pull back. Contracts get cancelled. The building across the city stays standing, but the operation inside it empties out until there is nothing left to stand on. Tobias is handled differently, smaller, but it still lands. Amari finds out the full scope of what Tobias did through his own investigation, and he cuts the connection completely. Permanently. He sends one final message that is 2 sentences and says everything it needs to say. He does not respond to anything after that. Do-yoon's legal team contacts the gossip website with documentation of exactly how the information was obtained and what it cost. Every article about Do-yoon that came from that source gets pulled within a week. The revenge does not feel triumphant. Feels like cleanup. Like clearing the space so something new can breathe. Do-yoon stands at his window the night it is all finished. The city is quiet below. He is quiet too. But it is a different quiet than before. It has a direction now. Do-yoon does his revenge the way he does most things, precisely, completely, and without raising his voice. Shin-ho loses everything connected to Do-yoon's name. Every position evaporates. Every protected contact gets informed. Every door that was only open because of Do-yoon's backing closes quietly and permanently. Shin-ho calls 3 times. Do-yoon does not answer any of them. He does not need to. The silence is the message. Boss Ryuk's operation takes longer but is more complete. Do-yoon is patient. He knows exactly which legal channels to work, which business moves to make, which carefully placed information to let reach the right desks. He does not do it out of rage. He does it with the calm precision of someone closing a chapter that was always going to end this way. Over the next 2 months, Ryuk's deals dry up. Partners pull back. Contracts get cancelled. The building across the city stays standing, but the operation inside it empties out until there is nothing left to stand on. Tobias is handled differently, smaller, but it still lands. Amari finds out the full scope of what Tobias did through his own investigation, and he cuts the connection completely. Permanently. He sends one final message that is 2 sentences and says everything it needs to say. He does not respond to anything after that. Do-yoon's legal team contacts the gossip website with documentation of exactly how the information was obtained and what it cost. Every article about Do-yoon that came from that source gets pulled within a week. The revenge does not feel triumphant. Feels like cleanup. Like clearing the space so something new can breathe. Do-yoon stands at his window the night it is all finished. The city is quiet below. He is quiet too. But it is a different quiet than before. It has a direction now. Amari is quiet for a long time after Do-yoon finishes. He looks at the floor. He looks at Do-yoon's face. He thinks about everything, not just the hurt but the before the hurt too. The street food market. The way Do-yoon laughed that first real laugh, surprised by his own face. The rooftop garden in their hands. The way being around Do-yoon made him feel like his ideas mattered, like his brain was worth using, like he was seen clearly and valued specifically. He also thinks about the office. The turn back. The folder. Clearing his desk with shaking hands. He says, "I need you to understand something." Do-yoon is very still. "Love is not enough," Amari says. "Not by itself. If you love someone but you won't let them stand next to you when things get hard, if you just turn around and decide they're guilty before they can even talk, that's not a partnership. That's just someone you feel things about." Do-yoon nods once. He does not defend himself. "I know," he says. "I know that now." "That can't happen again," Amari says. "Not like that. Not where you decide what I did before I get to say anything." "It won't." "You don't know that," Amari says, and his voice is very honest. "Not yet. That's something you have to build." "Yes," Do-yoon says. "I know. I'm asking for the chance to build it." Another long silence. Amari rubs his face with one hand. He exhales. "I'm still hurt," he says. "I want you to know that. I'm saying yes to trying, but I'm still hurt, and that's going to take time." "I understand," Do-yoon says. "I'm not asking you to not be hurt. I'm asking you to let me be here while you are." Amari looks at him for one more moment. Then he opens the door wider. "You want some tea?" Do-yoon steps inside. "Yes," he says. And it is the most honest word he has said in months. Starting over is not romantic in the way stories usually tell it. It is not a sudden burst of brightness after the rain. It is slower than that and more work, and some days do not feel like progress at all. Do-yoon starts seeing a professional, a therapist, someone outside his world, someone who has no access to his operation and no reason to be impressed by his name. He goes because Amari asked him to, yes, but also because Miss Park's words never quite left him and because he has been tired for a very long time of being so defended and so alone. The first few sessions are extremely uncomfortable. Do-yoon sits in a chair across from a calm woman and she asks him things about his childhood and his walls and his patterns, and he answers like he is giving a deposition. Short, factual, no extra words. She is patient. She does not need the extra words yet. They will come. Amari sets his boundaries clearly. He writes them down actually and reads them out loud to Do-yoon one evening, which makes Do-yoon's eyebrows go up slightly because no one has ever handed him a written list of how to treat them before. Amari explains each one. Do-yoon listens. He does not push back on a single item. He asks one clarifying question on the last point, and when Amari explains it he nods and says, "Understood." They move slowly. Dinners. Conversations. Honest ones, which for Do-yoon requires actual effort. He is not built for talking about interior things, but he is trying, which Amari said was the only thing he needed to see. Amari watches him try. The trying is not always graceful. Sometimes Do-yoon starts a sentence about how he is feeling and it comes out sideways like a person doing something with a muscle they forgot they had. But he finishes the sentence. Every time he finishes it. It is Do-yoon's idea to go back to the rooftop garden. He does not say why when he asks. Amari says okay the way he always does when he trusts someone's timing. The garden is the same. Small potted trees, string lights along the edges, the city spread out below in gold and dark. But they are different. They have both been through something that cost them and are still carefully choosing this. They stand at the edge and look at the city for a while without talking. The silence between them is not empty anymore. It has weight and warmth in it, the kind that only comes from shared history, even hard history. Do-yoon speaks first. He looks at the city, not at Amari when he says it, which is the only way he can get through a whole honest sentence without it getting tangled. Every man ran from me, he says. I expected it. I built everything assuming that was just what happened. People come close, people leave, people take something when they go. He pauses. The string lights make shadows on his face. You didn't run. Even when I gave you every reason to. Even when I made it very easy to. He turns and looks at Amari then. I almost destroyed that. And I will spend a long time making sure I never do again. Amari looks back at him. His wide bright eyes are full, but he is smiling. His real smile, the one that makes his whole face do something. He does not have a prepared speech. He just says, I know. And then he laughs. His big real laugh, the one that sounds like it is surprised by itself. And he leans his head on Do-yoon's shoulder. Do-yoon puts his arm around him, not stiff, not careful, just real. They stand there. The city lights below them. Two people who found each other in the wrong place at the wrong time and kept finding their way back.